Hey, everybody, what's up? It's your boy MJ, and welcome to 20 Questions Before the Pour. My guest today is co owner of Dancing Crow Vineyards in Lake County, California, Stefan Cartlidge. Stefan comes from an esteemed family of Northern California winemakers. His father, Tony Cartlidge, co founded Cartlidge and Browne Winery in Sonoma in 1980. In 2011, his dad sold his share of that winery with a goal to continue working in the wine business, but this time with his family. In 2014, his parents purchased the historic 36-acre Dancing Crow Winery in Lake County. And then after graduating from Oberlin College in 2015, Stefan went to work with his family. After several years in Northern California, he now represents the family's wines on the East Coast. Welcome, Stefan, and I'm going to say Stefan and Stefan. Please forgive me.
Everyone struggles with that, but you nailed it.
So
I honestly don't care all that much. You can Stefan, whatever works for you.
Okay, cool. All right, so to warm us up a bit, I'm going to start by asking you some personal questions, followed by James Lipton's famous 10 questions that he uses at the end of Inside the Actor's Studio. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the key is just, we're riffing. Just off the top of your head, first thing that comes to mind. Don't overthink it.
Okay.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. What is your favorite book?
My favorite book. Wow. Well, I would say probably Cloud Atlas by David Mitchell.
Okay.
He's basically my favorite author.
Okay.
And I love that book.
All right. I got a new reco. All right. What is your favorite movie?
Oh, that is hard for me. I'm a huge movie buff.
Okay.
And it's sort of like, choosing between children, I'm sure. But
That's easy, man.
I know.
Kids.
But
It's
anyway,
easy.
I'll give you an answer just to get this going on.
Don't like that kid.
I'll just say, I love this movie, Children of Men. It came out in 2006. It's a very dystopian story.
Okay.
But I think it's beautifully shot. It's from one of my favorite directors, Alfonso Cuarón.
Okay.
And it's a sort of very harrowing tale of, I guess, kind of parallels where we are now in a lot of ways, I would say. So,
My producer was over in the corner nodding her head at your choice.
Oh,
so
great.
Good choice. All right. Who is your favorite musical artist?
Well, I think like a lot of folks you've had on this show so far, I too am into 90s hip hop.
Okay.
So it took me a while to get there, but my friend Mac, he and I definitely love Tribe and listen to that very, very frequently. So
Nice. Love the Tribe. What is your favorite food to eat, or your death row meal?
Oh, I was actually thinking about this the other day. And the answer is I would have a simple roast chicken with potatoes, carrots, some garlic, olives, celery, kind of all broiled in the oven, basically. That was what my family used to make every Sunday, and it is my favorite meal.
What would you drink with that?
Ooh, what wouldn't I drink with that? No, I think honestly, like our Sauvignon Blanc wouldn't be a bad choice.
Okay.
You know, you can have white wine with chicken. It's okay.
You can. You absolutely can. All right. Who is your favorite athlete?
Oh, I would say this might be a weird choice, but Steve Fontaine. Do you remember Steve Fontaine?
Steve Prefontaine?
Prefontaine. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yes, I do.
Yes, Prefontaine. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
Yeah. But anyway, yes, he. I mean, I was a runner, so.
So was I.
Yes,
That's
there
why
we
I
go.
know Steve.
So I think he was definitely.
He was the toughest son of a bitch ever to run.
Yeah.
I mean, just toughest. I
Yeah.
mean, people more talented, but there's probably no one ever tougher.
Right.
As a distance runner, grit.
Yeah, and tragic story, but
Yeah.
he was kind of an inspiration. I wasn't really a good long distance runner, but I preferred sprinting. But I loved his story and saw his movie and really enjoyed that. So.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. Who was your favorite cartoon character?
Wow. Well, yeah, I would say I love Homer Simpson.
Okay. Wow, right on. Everybody went to like their childhood, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love The Simpsons. So.
That is your childhood. All right. What was your favorite cereal?
My favorites. I wasn't really allowed to have the fun cereals growing up, so
Neither was I.
Yeah, so I was, it was usually Cheerios, and if I got lucky, it was the Honey Nut varietal. So, But I would sometimes sneak out and go get myself some Captain Crunch.
That was me. When I got to college, all I ate was Captain Crunch.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, what is your current exercise routine?
I try to keep up with the running as much as I can. I'm currently in Fort Greene, right by the park, and so they have a very intimidating stairwell that kind of goes up to the main monument there, and I enjoy running up there and doing a little circuit, sort of sprints up, jog down, sprint up, jog down, sprint up, jog down, and gets my heart rate up.
That damn sure will. Okay, who is your favorite comedian?
My favorite comedian. Well, yes. I would. Well, I think that. I mean, Dave Chappelle. I'm gonna say.
Okay.
It. Yeah, Dave Chappelle.
You can't go wrong with
yeah,
Chappelle.
Yeah.
No, definitely. And who would you most like to have a bottle of wine with?
Who would I most like to have a bottle of wine with? There are. I would. You know what? I would. Barack. I think Barack would be a good person to have a bottle of wine.
I don't know that he drinks, but a lot of people we'd be like,
does he? No.
You're getting fucked up tonight, Barry. We drinking.
It might be because I'm listening to his autobiography, so he's been on my mind lately.
Nah, it's a great choice, man. He was a president of the United States.
True.
And a good one, in my opinion. But I don't want to. Anyway, I digress. Okay, Stefan. Now is the time when we get serious. We go inside the podcast studio. I'm going to ask you 10 final questions.
Oh, God.
What is your favorite word?
My favorite word. It's a long word. It's called anti-disestablishmentarianism.
Okay. And what does this word? I think I know what it means, but that means nothing. What do you know what it means?
I don't actually remember what it means, but it is my favorite word just because it was something my dad used to say to me when I was nervous, and it would calm me down. He would say this to me when I was like 10 years old. If I was nervous for like a presentation or a track meet or something like that, he would just say anti-disestablishmentarianism, and he would never actually explain what it meant. And I try to piece it together. It's anti-disestablishment, so it's sort of like a double negative type thing. So I never bothered to look it up, but it was a word that I found very calming for me when I was nervous.
That was a good one. Okay. What is your least favorite word?
Moist.
That's like the fucking sixth person.
Is it? I don't know. I guess maybe I just heard people say that moist is their least favorite word, and I just thought, it's not my favorite. But
no, I mean, but it's fine.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I never knew there was such a distaste. What turns you on?
What? Like in life or any specific context? Just what turns me on?
Yeah, life.
Okay.
I didn't say what turns you on in bed. That's that old joke. You should say in bed on everything.
What turns me on in life? I think just possibility, just the ability to do something and go out there and experience something. I think that's the most exciting part of life, and obviously something that we haven't had a lot of access to since COVID. So
yeah. What turns you off?
The word no. I'm not a fan of the word no, and in the wine business, especially in the wine sales side, you hear it a lot, and it's not you roll with it and you accept it and move on, but it's nicer to hear yes than no.
Definitely. What sound or noise do you love?
Ooh, this might be because of my country upbringing, but I do enjoy when it's nice and quiet and I'm taking a walk and there's like a moment where there's like a nice gust of wind and it kind of rustles the leaves and there's just sort of that sort of moment of tranquility when you're listening to the sound of wind through the canopy.
Very nice. What sound or noise do you hate?
I don't particularly love the sound of a jackhammer, and I mean that's
jackhammer 7:01 in the morning.
Yeah, and that's not my favorite, and I've been experiencing a bit of that recently. So again, it's been on my mind.
What is your favorite curse word?
I guess maybe like bugger.
Bugger. I was going to say gee willikers. Going to come with a
well, my dad's from England, so
bugger.
I heard that a lot. So
okay.
yeah,
that's right.
Yeah,
bugger off.
Yeah, bugger off. Yeah.
right. We're gonna start a new thing here.
Okay.
Bugger off, mother bugger. Uh, what profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Oh, well, I really wanted to be an actor. That was my number one love in high school and college, and I tried to take a stab at that. But yeah, I've always loved acting, and continue to love it.
Nice, very nice. What profession would you not like to do?
I would not like to work in a call center. I maybe again I just a lot of telemarketing calls on my phone recently, so it's been bugging me.
I got this thing. I'll send it to you. It's called the it's an anti telemarketer script, and basically you just start asking them questions. They always hang up. They hang up within like 15 seconds. It's so much fun.
Okay.
I mean, even one of the questions like, "Do you like what you do? Are they hiring?" they're like what?
A moment of reflection,
Yeah.
to really think about what's happening.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
I will send that to you.
Please do.
Yeah, because then you can act. You can have fun with it.
I'd like to. Yeah,
it'll be fun.
It's better than just hanging up. I just feel like
it
I'm
is.
being a prick when I do that, but it is annoying.
And lastly, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
This is a hell of a question to ask an atheist, but I'll give it my best shot.
I said, if heaven exists. It is prefaced.
That is true. And maybe I'm more agnostic. Let's say.
Yeah,
so.
that's really no one's.
Can you ask the question one more time? Actually,
no one's. Was it George Carlin? I don't know. It was some comedian said no one's really an atheist. What do you say at the moment of Klein? Oh! I'm not yet convinced of your existence. I mean, like.
Well, he would know. I mean, boy, George. Yeah.
But okay, so the question is,
sorry.
If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
I'd like them to say, you did okay. I like a little pat on the back, and all the things I've worried about that I've done or said or mistakes I've made. I like them just to kind of put a hand on my shoulder and say, you know what, you did okay.
Nice. All right. This was fun. If you want more of Stefan, and I know you do, tune into the full episode of the Black Wine Guy Experience. Until next time, everybody, cheers.
Cheers.
Hey, everybody. What's up? It's your boy, MJ. It's the Black Wine Guy Experience, and my guest today is co-owner of Dancing Crow Vineyards in Lake County, California, Stefan Cartlidge. Stefan comes from an esteemed family of Northern California winemakers. His father, Tony Cartlidge, co-founded Cartlidge Browne Winery in Sonoma in 1980, and in 2011, he sold off his share of that winery with a goal to continue working in the wine business, but this time with his family. In 2014, the Cartlidge purchased the historic 36-acre Dancing Crow Winery. And after graduating from Oberlin College in 2015, Stefan went to work with his family. After several years in Northern California, he now represents the family's wines on the East Coast. So he's west to east. So everybody help me welcome Stefan. Anything you'd like to add?
You got it. I think that's a pretty good summation there.
Okay. So Stefan and I actually connected kind of through Instagram. I connected with your Dancing Crow, the Dancing Crow account, and I got a direct message from them one day saying, "Hey, our sales manager is going to be in your area. Can he drop off some wine?" And Stefan showed up at my house with 6 bottles of wine. I
appreciate the turnaround there. Yeah, I felt like it was a day later. I was at your door.
Yeah, it was pretty quick. I was like, "What?" I was like, so. And
but we move fast,
Yeah,
we move quickly. So.
And I had the opportunity to taste like 6 of their wines. The wines are fantastic.
Thank you.
So tell everybody what we are drinking tonight.
So tonight we are drinking our rosé. It's a 2020 vintage rosé. It's from. Take a little sip here. It's from Syrah grapes, primarily, about 83% Syrah. But there is a splash of the remainder for Sauvignon Blanc. So it's got a little of our Sauvignon Blanc in there too.
Oh, that's different.
Mm-hmm.
Syrah. Oh, that's different.
Mm-hmm.
It's really crisp. It's got that nice bite.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely something you guys will want to pound on your porch this summer, or
Mm-hmm.
just have like a salad niçoise, or a cold salmon salad. Cold lobster roll go good with.
Mm-hmm.
Although I prefer the butter, I put that salad. But the cold one, man, it'd be perfect with that. Could get the celery.
Oh, yeah.
Just
Oh, delicious.
it would pop off. And then what else will we be trying later?
And later we will be having our field blend. So this is our wine made from this vineyard we took over a few years ago, and it's called Old Stake 1901. So it's a field blend, and I can explain a little bit what that means. So basically, it's got 24 different varietals in it, a lot of which we don't even know what exactly it is. So it's a bit of a mystery wine. But basically, we take it, hand harvest it all together, co-ferment it all, and produce it as sort of and it's up to whoever the powers that be to tell us exactly what the kind of wine this is going to be. So it's unlike any other wine. I think we can safely say that. Yes.
Wow. Very nice. Very nice. Awesome. So very cool. Very cool. Very cool. So a lot of people who listen, tune in the show, you follow my Instagram feed. That's how you found me. So you've probably seen, like I said, after Stefan came and dropped off those wines, I just was going crazy or back in my feed. But for people who may not be familiar with your winery, tell them about the all the wines you produce.
Sure.
And then kind of like your philosophy behind the winery.
Happy. So I guess we produce a sort of limited lineup. I think when we started Dancing Crow, one thing that was really important for us was to make sure, and this is something that particularly my dad has been a big proponent of, is making sure wines come from places where everything's going to be varietally correct. So we're only going to do something if it makes sense to do it in that place. Lake County is particularly noted for Sauvignon Blanc, as well as Cabernet, Zinfandel. Not great for Chardonnay, and it's just never going to be great for Chardonnay, probably. Maybe someone out there is doing a good Chardonnay, but we haven't yet come across that. So basically, I think that's something that we're trying to be very conscientious of, is making sure all the wines that we produce are,
sense of place,
yes,
and not so much driven by profitability,
right?
Where people ripped up all these great old vines and other.
We're not great on profitability, just generally, so. We do our best, but it's hard.
Well, when I first got in the wine business, it was like, how do you make a small fortune in the wine business?
Start with a large one.
Start with a large one.
That's right. Sorry to steal your joke.
Yeah, it's okay. It's an industry thing. It's known, it's kind of known.
Yeah.
But I like that because we're in a situation that Old Stake 1901 vineyard was planted around 1901.
Yeah, I think that's basically where we're shooting for. I mean, maybe a bit sooner.
Yeah.
It is one of the oldest vineyards in Lake County.
And it's part of the Historical Vineyard Society. It's certified.
Mm-hmm.
This is.
Yep. And came very close to just being completely ripped out. That's how we kind of took it over, was because it's okay if I go on this little bit? Yep. Okay.
Yeah, man.
So
we talk on this show.
Is that what we're doing? Are we talking right now? Oh, good. I'm glad. Okay. I can relax now.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically our vineyard manager, his name's David Weiss. He's been up in Lake County for forever, and he really knows a lot of the sites up there really well. He came to us one day and was like, I'm really upset. And we're like, David, why are you upset? He said, well, they're ripping out, what may be the oldest vineyard in Lake County because it's just not producing, So, and we were like, oh, okay, well, who's in charge of it? And it was at the time a man named Jed Steele.
Jed Steele, by the way, and when I remember when you came over, I was like, oh, he's like, what do you know? We were talking. I was like, Lake County. I've known about Lake County since Jed Steele went up there. He's like, oh my God, that's.
Mm-hmm. And
for you guys who don't know, Jed Steele was he was a kick-ass. He still is a kick-ass winemaker.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
He really shaped the future. He really changed California wine. when he worked at Kendall Jackson, he formulated their first, their really popular Chardonnay. He came up with that first formula for them. But he also makes really killer, and then he had his own label Steel and makes killer Chardonnays and Zinfandels and some Pinot Noir. He's just a fucking fantastic winemaker. But he's been up in Lake County. He's like a Lake County pioneer as far as the new wave, right?
Definitely,
right,
yeah. No, he's been around for a long, long time, longer than we have, and you know, he's beloved. Let's just say everyone in Lake County loves Jed, and I've yet to meet him, but I, you know, would love that opportunity. But anyway, so we took this vineyard over as a way, kind of, to preserve this, and it was also kind of at the behest of our winemakers, David and Catherine DeSanti. They're amazing sort of couple winemaker, and they really just got giddy at the thought of making a field blend, which is something not a lot of winemakers in California get the opportunity to do. So it was for them a real great chance to add that to their repertoire. So they just jumped on it, and you know, we all just kind of, the timing was right for all of it, and you know, we took it over, yeah, and are now grateful to steward it. So
nice. So I know you have the Sauvignon Blanc, you have the Rosé, you have this field blend. Guys, what else do you do?
We also do a Zinfandel.
Okay. Which is very good.
Oh yeah, you like it?
That I told you that's in. Like, it's like people. It's like it's one of those wines where, like, I know, like, I didn't expect it to be bad, but like, you're like, oh shit, this is really good. It's one of it's like a sneaker. It like sneaks up on you, you know.
It definitely does. Yeah. Our winemakers say it's the Zin for Pinot drinkers. It's a little bit more elegant, shall we say, for a Zinfandel. So that can be a bit surprising for some people, and maybe why our Vivino rating isn't so great. But
oh man, I will go on record. Vivino's trash. It's cause, and it's like you know,
oh
you see. I know he's going to start doing awoken the giant because it's like people like it's crowdsourced.
Yeah.
Okay, so like. Okay, maybe you don't like Robert Parker, maybe you don't like critics, but you want to trust dumbass down the street who doesn't know wine and bought a wine and doesn't like it, so it gives it a low rating when it could be completely varietally correct. It exhibits everything that it should from that site, and it's just rank amateurs by and by. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know, I can't say that to the consumer's face, but you know, I completely agree with you. I completely 100% agree with you. It's, you know, it's tough, and I, you know, I've hand sold our wine everywhere, and the moment they bring out the phone, I'm just like, please no, please don't do this to me. Don't make me. We need to do an ad. We need to do like an ad. So what is it? Experience got an ad. John Cena's like there. Yeah.
And they got the young the hipster to like, this app will save me. Like throws the chair. When he's like that app is trash, right? Like we need to do that with Vivino. Like a bunch of winemakers like that app is trash.
We need to counter it, somehow.
You know, no, I don't give a fuck. Man, seriously, I was like literally like, you know, people. And as someone who sells wine part-time, and people poke out their phone, I'm like, I sit down with winemakers and the top people in the wine industry, and you're pulling out your fucking phone to scan a picture from Joe Slobotnik down the street.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
I mean, wow. I didn't know we were just going to go today. And exactly,
we're getting heated in here.
No,
you know?
I know. And also like Sauvignon Blanc, right? So like someone I follow on Instagram, they did a poll. A wine store, and I love the wine. I buy a lot of wine from them, and it wasn't nothing wrong with doing a poll, but it was like, where's the best Sauvignon Blanc from? And New Zealand one. I'm like, no, New Zealand makes the best style of New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. What the fuck, people? Like people, and to me, that's the type of people going to, you know, oh, New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc the best, right?
Yeah.
Never had a fucking Sancerre, never had a white Bordeaux, never had a Dancing Crow Sauvignon Blanc, which tastes like Sancerre,
right?
But they're not going to like it because they want that gooseberry limey skin. And I'm not mad at New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, but the fact that that's what kind of drives these apps and stuff is like.
Well, I think they want, you know, easy answers to questions that
it's on TV.
Yeah, exactly.
Get the Kim Crawford.
Right.
It's on fucking TV.
And then people want to have that in their registrar. You know, and then they're like, okay, this is what I'm going to buy for grandma. You know.
Yeah. So I love the story about the stewardship of the Old Stake Vineyard. So obviously you're very proud of that one.
Yes.
What other wine you guys I think are really proud of? What's like you think is your hallmark wine?
Well, our flagship is our Sauvignon Blanc.
Okay.
Like that is what we think Lake County should really be known for, and rosé actually, to be fair, but Sauvignon Blanc in particular, like what we can do with Sauvignon Blanc in Lake County is something you just can't do really elsewhere in California, and that was why we were drawn to it in the first place. I mean, history about Dancing Crow Vineyard, just so we know.
Yeah, hook it up.
When my dad had Cartlidge and Browne back in the day, his winemaker was a time a man named Paul Mosier, who found this vineyard, and they made a single vineyard Sauvignon Blanc from it, and it was called the Dancing Crow Vineyard, and it was Cartlidge Browne Dancing Crow Vineyard, and Paul came up to my dad and was just like, I think this may be the best Sauvignon Blanc vineyard in California. Like, I mean, given his his style of winemaking and his opinion,
and also years of experience too.
And absolutely, yeah. And he was just like, these are phenomenal grapes, and we don't know exactly what's going on in there or why they are the way they are, but something is ticking with that vineyard, and you should really jump on that opportunity if you can. So, flash forward 8 years, 9 years later, we're there,
And I want to back up because something you said, because the profitability, like you make these wines that are really expressive. I just had another sip of the rosé. It's fucking killer, man. Seriously, showing really well. But you mentioned Cartlidge and Browne, so that was a winery your father started, and their wines were like all $10 or less, right?
Pretty much. I mean, yeah. I think maybe they had a
$12.
Yeah, maybe something like that. Yeah. They were
$14.90. They went all
definitely
out on $14.99.
Yes.
Let's push the envelope.
Let's go crazy. Yes.
And if you guys don't know about that winery, which this is just a wine business, so we can't. It's kind of hard to tell people's story because most people worked places. But those wines, I remember those wines. Having those wines in the late 90s when I first kind of got in the wine business, and people hate scores, but like here were wines that were getting 92s and 93s from Robert Parker, and they were $9 to fucking $12.
Yep.
And they were killer. Like if you were looking for and so there seems to be this why were they selling that cheap? I mean,
well,
like most people get a score and they're like, well,
let's talk about profitability again. Let's talk about why were they that cheap. That is a great question, and we should really get to the bottom of that because they had no business being that cheap, frankly.
Yeah,
and even Robert Parker said that. He said there's no reason this wine should be this inexpensive. It needs to be 2x, 3 times as much, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, those wines were literally like they were killer.
Yeah.
For them. I mean, and they were, like I said, they were ridiculous for the money. It was like, let me buy 2 cases.
Yeah, it was a no-brainer for a lot of people, especially in New York at the time when Cartlidge Browne was really getting a foothold. I mean, New York was their bread and butter, for a long, long time. So
yeah. So I know also with the Dancing Crow wines though, that you guys also like. Old Steak, what does that retail for generally?
Well, I think we're shooting for $25 a bottle.
Right now, and I was thinking about this on the train, and I was like, $25 a bottle, and I've had it. It's ridiculous, and it's a historic vineyard, so it's old vines. So obviously, old vines produce less fruit, and less fruit means less wine.
It's
and then most people who make field blends like Ridge. Most field you can't find a field blend under $30.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
an old vine field blend for under $30. What?
Yeah, I mean, we're here, we're doing it. We're out here doing it.
Yeah, people need to. These are wines people.
But it is
they need to jump on them. But they're like literally.
It's a labor of love. Like honestly, it is, and I think that is something we emphasize. Is like again, we don't want to price people out. Like we really we're going to sell it at the price that we think is going to get it in most people's hands.
Yeah.
And even if it's a limited quantity thing or whatever it is, like we're very much about like this wine should be accessible to anyone who wants it. Yeah. And we're not. Yeah, we just don't. We also don't really know how to market $50 bottles of wine. I'll be honest. That's a world that we have no idea. Like we're we're hillbillies to those people.
All right. So you're hillbillies, right? So it is a family business. So let's start with your family.
Okay.
Your dad is from London and
right.
then came to Napa in the 70s. Tell me about him and how he found his way into the wine business.
Oh boy. Well, he's had a very storied life, and I will do my best to recount as much of that as I can. But but I will do my best to be the mouthpiece for that. So he grew up in London. He dropped out of high school, 16. He's kind of living on his own for a while, and then went to Paris. Went he translated, I think, for French advertisements and tried to put them in English, and did that for 3 weeks and then quit. But and then he was a tour guide in Morocco for a while, and then he went after a girl, not my mom, who was in California at the time, and so he ended up there. And
so many of these stories.
Yeah, I know.
Wine stories start with a girl, man.
I was listening to your podcast, and it seems to be a theme. So continuing the tradition.
So romantic.
Yes.
I'm gonna follow this girl to California.
So he ended up there, and she kicked him out, and then I'm sorry, Dad, if you're anyway, but we'll talk about this later. But anyway, so he ended up in Oregon, of all places, driving cement trucks, and he got tired of that too. But
I could see getting tired of that. That's a job I wouldn't like to do.
He was just bored. He said, he worked on the Alaska pipeline, and he was so bored with that. And I remember a story he told me where he was just not paying attention, and the foreman or whoever was there directing him was saying, "Hey, buddy, you need to snap to." And he said something like, "Listen, either you give me a lobotomy or something to do while I'm just waiting here, because this is so boring." And he opted to quit rather than get the lobotomy, I guess. So
that's a good choice.
And but anyway, so he then heard about winemaking in Napa Valley and decided to go down there just to scope it out. I literally just read a book. That was it. Like I wish I could remember the name of the book, but there was some book that was at the time pretty instrumental in bringing attention to Napa, and he read it and went down there and got a tour as a wine tour guide with Freemark Abbey.
Okay.
Which at the time was run by my grandmother, and so she gave him his first job and also introduced him to my mom. So
Nana.
Mm-hmm. Go Nana.
Exactly. So his first job is Freemark Abbey, and was that as a tour guide or his first job as a winemaker?
Tour guide.
Okay,
Yeah.
tour guide.
Yeah.
So tour guide. How did he get into making wine?
Well, he partnered with a man named Glenn Browne. So my dad, he just had the idea that that Napa really needed to sort of up its game in a way that I think he wanted to see, I think, largely more wine in restaurants, more California wine in restaurants.
Okay.
And so he just through Napa and being who he was and just charming everybody he saw, decided that he wanted to create a winery that was going to be the first of its kind to do really varietally correct wines that are very like Dancing Crow, at an easily accessible price point. And so he pitched that idea to this man named Glenn Browne, who had no experience with wine. He worked for the State Department. And again, I shouldn't be the one telling the story, but
you're here.
But I'm here. Yes.
Yeah, Tony, I'll tell you what. We'll we'll come. You come to New York and visit your son. We'll have you on the show. Or once things get, we'll get a crew. We get some more budget. We'll come out there in the vineyard and we'll interview. But it's okay, man. It's good getting the story from the son's eyes,
Yes.
right?
From the heir apparent.
Yes, exactly.
So anyway, but so he partnered with them, and then they kicked it off pretty quick, I think, and they really promoted their wines in New York. That was where a lot of wine business was being done, and this was the early '80s, so it was right as that boom was taking off, and it was still hard. He talks about it, he was gone traveling, really pushing his wines, and in places that were still no, we're only gonna serve French wine, and
I imagine the '80s, yeah,
and it was still a tough sell. So, but I think he took a lot of inspiration from Mondavi, and who also just put all his energy into promoting Napa, and would personally be the one to go out and talk to anyone who would listen about why Napa wines were so great. So that's how he ended up anyway, kind of getting that all started.
Okay. So your mom.
Mm-hmm.
She's a Napa native?
She is. Well, she was born in Berkeley.
Okay.
But she grew up in St. Helena, so
Okay.
the town that I basically grew up in too.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What was it like growing up in St. Helena?
Oh God, it was. Well, I mean, it's built for an industry that you have no access to, for most of your life. So I mean, it's there. Wine is everywhere, obviously, and vineyards are everywhere. But it's just like, as far as I was concerned, it was just like growing up anywhere else, I guess. I mean, it was you'd have a lot of tourism on the weekends. It was like, I mean, I guess maybe like out here, like growing up in like Cape Cod or something. Maybe you're just like, it's like a seasonal aspect to everything, and like, folks are coming in and bringing all the glitz and glam with them, and then peacing at the end of it. So yeah, it was a constant ebb and flow.
I mean, but like, did you like go to high school with like, I went with with Michael Mondavi's kid, like the wine kids, right? Like,
Right, the wine kids. Yeah, there were a few of those. I didn't go to high school there, actually.
Okay.
So I did middle school in St. Helena, and then I actually went to a high school in East Bay.
Okay.
So I kind of bounced pretty quickly from that, and I actually I wasn't really friends with the wine kids. I knew who they were. Yeah, I mean, like I knew who they were, and like the Cushis, the Particellis, and like these folks who I grew up with. But then I went to high school, and then once I did that, like they forgot about me pretty quick. I didn't really register for them after that, but I think they took it as a personal insult. So.
All right, so but your mom, she must have came up from the golden era, like the Mondavi area when all those first new wineries were being constructed.
Yeah, she's Napa Valley royalty as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
Like she knows everybody knows her, and she's seen it through everything, And I mean, when she grew up, obviously, I think there were 3 wineries. I think it was Krug, Mondavi, maybe another one. Yeah, so. She was just there from all of it, and seeing the changes for her. It's been kind of a whirlwind, I think. And I think what she likes about Lake County is that it really reminds her of what Napa used to be like growing up. And so she feels a kinship, I think, with that. She's just a amazingly vibrant person and has such a flair for creativity and is a great event organizer for us and does so much for us. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Love you,
Moms. Mom. Exactly. Thanks, Mom. You went to Oberlin. So you said you went to high school in East Bay, and and then you Oberlin's in Ohio, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Somewhere there.
Yeah. And after you graduated, did you go right back to California? What did you do?
So after I graduated, no, basically I just jumped right into it. From the get-go. So we were, that was we did our first vintage in 2014. So, and I graduated in 2015. So kind of even before I graduated, I'd sort of started working for, the wine business. And so my job kind of at the outset from graduating college was to go find distributors. My dad was just like, here's a map, here's some names, see what happens. And so I hopped in my car and I, tried to find everywhere that was in the Midwest basically at that time. And then once I officially graduated, I actually went to Chicago.
Okay.
So I was in Chicago for about a year and a half. And yeah, my job was basically just, look for distributors and, try to tell anyone who will listen that Lake County is the new thing, and the new exciting thing. So
what'd you major in college?
I did a sort of joint degree of politics and English literature.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that could come in handy in sales.
Yeah, politics definitely does. Yeah. Negotiations.
Yeah, negotiations.
Yes. It's easier from the outside, but once you're in it, it's a little more nerve-wracking.
So Chicago, I love that your story. Dad's like, here, go find some distributors. Here's a map. Go,
yeah. Well,
earn your keep, kid.
It turns out like half of them were closed, or had gone out of business years ago. So I was like, okay, well, time to set my own shops here.
So, and then, what's it like working with your family? Because like I know that could be hard.
I love it.
Oh, okay.
I absolutely love it. Yeah, it's been one of the best things I've done. I think I constantly think about like what could I have done differently or what would I have done differently, but I love working with them. Like they're just the best people to hang around, and I love my dad, I love my mom. Like they're just we're very very supportive, loving parents, and they never pressured me. That was the other thing. Like I think a lot of kids growing up in the wine business feel this pressure from their families to carry on the lineage. And
like Jensen, Calera Jensen.
Mm-hmm.
Had to sell. His kids didn't want it.
Yeah.
Kids didn't want to run a business.
Yeah. And I think Jet Steele, similar story actually.
Yeah.
Like I don't think his kids wanted to do it. So, so I'm a bit of an anomaly there actually, in that I kind of really wanted to do it and be a part of it, and just hope that I didn't screw it up too badly.
Well, I think you're kind of young. I think you got
Yeah,
plenty of time.
okay.
You know, I don't think you're gonna screw it up, but if you wanted to, you got plenty of time. You got decades of screwing up to do.
I'm ready for it.
You're up for the challenge.
I'm up for the challenge, definitely.
All right, listen, everybody. We're gonna take a quick break, and then we're gonna come back with more of Stefan in a second. Okay, we're back. So we were talking about how you are an anomaly amongst wine kids, and you actually really love it and love working with your family. Oh, and I know you were only child?
Yeah, well, sort of.
Okay.
So both my parents have children from their previous
First marriage,
marriages.
okay,
Yep,
yeah.
yep. So I have 2 half brothers.
Okay.
Yeah, and one of them works with us.
Okay, I was gonna say they involved. Okay.
One of them is, yep.
Very nice, very nice, very nice. Okay, so we got into this a little bit, but I want to take a deeper dive. Tell people about Lake County. Everybody knows Napa, but Lake County. I remember seeing a map. Lake County used to be a part of Napa, actually.
That's right. Yeah, not a lot of people know that.
Right. So you alluded to it, but can you deeper dive into why you like what have you heard, like particularly the Sauvignon Blanc, like why you can't, they still haven't figured out, like why is it so unique? Why is Lake County terroir so unique from Napa?
So there's a very good answer for that. Part of it is that it is at a higher elevation.
Okay.
So it's at 1,400 feet, and the joke goes that people from Napa look down on Lake County when they really should be looking up. It's at 1,400 feet. So it's higher elevation, which basically means that you're getting hotter days but cooler nights.
Okay.
It's called a diurnal temperature
Yeah, I've heard
flux.
that,
Yeah,
diurnal.
there we go. Yeah, fun technical phrase there. Anyway, so for Sauvignon Blanc, that's particularly useful because what happens is that variance in temperature you're getting, and I'm talking like it might be 100 in the day and then 50 at night.
Wow.
Really large swing,
Drastic
swing.
Yeah.
And so what that does for the grapes is that it basically allows them to develop in every way, or ripen in every way except sugar. So you're harvesting Sauvignon Blanc at 21 bricks. Also, the rosé is harvested at 21 bricks, and so you're getting that lower alcohol. So it's kind of we're aiming for 12.3% alcohol, and then but you're not sacrificing the fruit character of the wine. So you're still getting that kind of richness, complexity, acidity, especially. Lake County is particularly known for acidic wines, and all our wines, I think, are on the acidic spectrum in some way. That is very hard to replicate in Napa, just because it gets so hot. I remember growing up there, like it got hot and it stayed hot, especially during the summer. Like it's like an oven; it just bakes everything. And a lot of tossing and turning and trying to get to sleep, was always a challenge. And opening all the windows was usually a good trick. But it stayed pretty warm, and so you're just the climate is not such that you can make a wine like that. So in that way, we're trying to take our cues from Sancerre,
Yep.
Loire. Sauvignon Blanc, like our Sauvignon Blanc has sometimes been compared to a white Grave. So that's kind of where we're aiming for, is that sort of old world inspiration with kind of a new world twist, as far as fruit's concerned, especially.
Yeah. So you mentioned like the bricks is 21, and you're trying to get it around 12, 12.5%
Right.
alcohol. I was in a conversation the other day, and there's a trend of some winemakers, they're just picking. It's not what you're doing, because, like you explained, because of the terroir, because of the binaural, and because it gets hot and cold in big numbers, you're not sacrificing any of that fruit flavor. But in this discussion with some winemakers, they were from Sonoma, we're saying how it's great, wine is opening up, but so people are like, I can make wine, and people are just picking grapes that aren't ripe, so they have low alcohol and they don't have flavor.
Right. That's the tricky part.
Right. But this, like, again, the rosé is just bursting with flavor. I would not have thought it was Syrah, because I'm getting those classic Grenache rosé, like the strawberries and red raspberries.
Well, one thing about it too, maybe I should bring up, is that it goes through so when we press it, half of the grapes are going through a sort of classic white wine press, and the other half are going through a champagne press. That's something a little different that we do.
Tell us about the champagne
Oh,
press.
the champagne press. Yes, so it is. I mean, basically, it's whole cluster. It's kind of a slow process, and the point of it is to minimize skin contact. So, and according to our winemaker, what that does is basically bring out the aromatic elements of the wine that you sometimes sacrifice when making rosé. Also, it's a it's not a Saignée or Saunier, I guess. I don't know if I'm saying
I know
that.
the word.
You know what I'm talking about.
I don't know how to say it. I barely know how to say your name.
Yes. Well, that's something me and Saunier have in common. Maybe that's why. Well, but we don't do that anyway. So basically, well, I mean, it's Saunier is like it's basically you're creating rosé as a byproduct of red wine.
Right.
Whereas our winemaker likes to say it's intentionality. We're intentionally harvesting these grapes to make rosé.
And on that same one there was that same Zoom I was on. Philippe Camby, you might have heard of him.
Mm-hmm.
He was saying the same thing. Like you have to pick grapes to make rosé.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a difference between making a Grenache rosé and a Grenache. Like people don't get that, and a lot of people just, well, Jesus, soccer moms.
Oh no.
But no, rosé all day. I mean, so people just start making rosés out of grapes, and they're not making a real rosé they're not making a real rosé. They're making a pink wine. Because again, market forces and.
Right, and that's something we made a rosé again because it made sense to make a rosé up there. We make wines that we want to drink. We don't really think about the consumer that much. In fact,
not in a diss way. I think that's a great way to make your wine because, like you said, this is a labor of love, right? Yeah. So like, don't make why would you make a wine you wouldn't want to drink yourself?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we have a very Cartlidge Browne palate, I would say, and we stick by that. We'll defend it. We'll die on that hill for sure. But it isn't for everyone, and people are very frank about that. They will tell you.
We got the Vivino reviews to prove it.
And please, you can see them there. But
get that app off your phone, people.
I'm yes.
I'm gonna get a letter from Vivino's counsel. Cease and desist.
I just hope we haven't, crossed the Rubicon here.
Anyway. Yeah.
But
it's the black wine guy experience. You never know how it's going to turn out. I'm having so much fun today. Oh my God. Okay, so making wines that you guys would love to drink.
Yeah,
right.
That's the core of it all.
Yeah.
And those wines are going to be trendy or not. We don't know. But all we can say is that like they are made professionally, and we have very esteemed professionals working for us, and we trust the process, and we trust all of that. So.
All right, so now I can only imagine, was Lake County affected by the fires?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And it was tough. Yeah, it was really. I mean, we've just been hammered for the last 5 years. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's just been constant. And these last ones, I mean, there were fires in Lake County, but it was particularly hard because where my folks were, the fires came within 50 yards of their house.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was particularly scary for us. I mean, for me, especially being out here and not being able to get a hold because they cut all the power, communication, all that. But anyway, yes. But Lake County is just we've had to. I mean, I'm at the bring it on stage of all of this. Just because like it's just been constant. And we just can't seem to catch a break, unfortunately. So.
Yeah. No, it's tough. And then with COVID over the past year, and I would think these wines would do well in restaurants because of the price point and the quality. These are easy $15 pours. Easy.
Yeah, we think so.
Yeah.
But that was another thing I was hoping to do when I came out to New York. I was hoping to visit more restaurants and increase that exposure, which is basically what I was doing in California. I mean, we self-distribute in California, and so I was going door to door, Googling every sort of restaurant, wine store that I could possibly find and trying to, get appointments, make presentations, that sort of thing. And, so we got into a couple restaurants and we had some really great relationships with those people. But, obviously a lot of them took a huge hit during COVID and, was a blessing and a curse that we were so focused on off-premise, and that obviously did go up during COVID. So that was, one thing that we helped to survive everything, including the fires. So
good. And why don't we crack into the old steak, man?
What's going on?
Yeah, let's get that on and popping. And the old steak, what vintage is that?
This is 2018.
2018. Okay.
Yeah.
So, what's like your favorite wine from 2018 is considered a pretty good vintage across the board in California. Is there a standout you guys think is like your best wine?
Ooh, from 2018. We did do a good Zinfandel from 2018. Yeah, that was a pretty nice wine. Again, I think it really showcased the characteristics that we were looking for, which was that sort of more elegant style Zin. Again, I know that's a bit kind of oxymoronic statement, but
well, I mean, it's a yes and no, right?
Yeah.
I think that if you look at old school Zinfandel, it was built. A lot of old school Zins were built like Bordeaux's. They made like Bordeaux's, and then the 90s happened, 80s, 90s happened, and then Zins got big.
Yeah.
I mean, they got big, brash, nothing under, you're hard pressed to find a lot of Zins under 14.5. And, there were Zins like back in the day, they were 13. It was 13.8, it was really ripe. They're like, what are you doing? Are you nuts? So, I do think I haven't. I don't think I had. I think I had the 20. I'm not sure. I have to see what vintage you gave me last time. But you had said it's like a Pinot Noir drinker's Zin. I mean, it's also like a Grenache drinker's Zin. It's one of those like, just really a erythral. Just you're like, wow, what is this? This is a Zin. It's one of those wines.
Yeah.
Wow, but you get all that briary, brambly fruit, but then just not that big, heavy.
All our wines are kind of a blind taster's nightmare, to be honest.
Yeah, I love wines like that. I do. No, and that's perfect. And that's the thing, right? Wines. These are wines that will fuck people up in a blind tasting, right? Particularly a Sauvignon Blanc. The Sauvignon Blanc. I'm sure that Zin would too. Like I say, because you're not gonna. No one's gonna be like Zin, Lake County, 2018.
Nailed it.
Nope. You'll never see that on a certain network that has people who blind taste all the time. You will never hear. And your Sauvignon Blanc, they'd be like, I'm going to call this a Loire Valley Sancerre. Yeah, and that is those.
It'll sneak up on you.
Yeah, just like you listen to the wine from Virginia. I was like, this is a fucking Merlot based wine from Virginia. I said, this will fuck people up in a blind tasting. I love wines that'll just you're like, what? So that's cool. That's cool. So we're getting into this the Old Steak Vineyard. And you talked a little bit about it, but like, so how do you even know there's 24 varieties in there? Like what type of, like some type of studies come in and
look at that sound.
That, what sound I hate? The sound of glass breaking. We didn't break one here. Wow. This is like 17 episodes. We haven't broke a glass yet. So
knock on wood.
Yeah.
Deep breaths.
Yes. Yeah. So how do you even know there's 24 in there?
Well, we went out and we tested.
Say more about that.
Yes. Well, I unfortunately don't know the specifics of that, but
Make it up. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's going on the interwebs.
It happens. Someone out there, mad scientist guy with test tubes and crazy Doc Brown hair, went out there and gathered the grapes and put it in his giant
a lot of like
grape machine. Licorice, yes.
Anise. Yeah.
I think there's like a lovely blueberry note to it too.
Yeah.
Some boysenberry.
Boysenberry. I love boysenberry. I didn't really know what boysenberry was, so I moved to California and went to Trader Joe's and got boysenberry jam. But that's how. But people, don't, and this thing, just if you're listening, those.
If you can hear
us, listeners, like that's how you catalog flavors, right? Like I'm like, oh, I know what boysenberry tastes like because I had boysenberry jam, right? So so you guys became stewards of this vineyard, and how many vintages have you released from here?
You're looking at it.
Wow, this is the first.
The first, yeah.
Oh my goodness, I have had this wine before. Hello, old friend.
So because of the fires, we couldn't make the subsequent vintage because of smoke taint.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
so that was a
Okay.
sad moment. So we've now begun the process. We're gonna make obviously the next vintage.
You should take some of those smoke tank grapes, come up with some crazy label, and then get someone on Vivino to like give it 5
stars.
This turned into the Dis Vivino
Yes.
episode.
No. I didn't sign up for this, but hey, I'm here for the rides.
You signed the waiver.
I did.
The opinions expressed about Vivino are those of MJ, aka the Black Wine Guy, and not of Dancing Crow Vineyards or any of their employees or subsidiaries.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. But I heard somewhere that, and I think this is really cool, and like you want to talk about grape diversity, like you want to market some wine right in this day and age, grape diversity. Where'd you guys come up with the name for a grape? An experiment in grape diversity is what we found.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you're referring to the varietals?
Yes.
Yes. So, it's mostly Zinfandel, but there is some Cabernet, some Muscat of Alexandria. There is some Roussanne, some Perlet, some Touriga Nacional, Alicante Boucher, and some. Did I say Cabernet already?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Well, those are the ones that we've identified. If you know more, please give us a call.
I would have to think, and I'm just spitballing here. I'd have to think there's some Petite Syrah in that field.
Maybe.
I would have to think.
I agree with that actually.
And a lot of those old vineyards you would have Zen, Petite Syrah, Mataro or Mourvedre. I would have to assume there's some of that in there. You got the Alicante. A lot of white grapes.
There are a lot of white grapes.
A lot of white grapes.
Yeah, big surprise with that.
Yeah, that's huge. But I would definitely think, there's definitely some Petite, some Mourvedre or Mataro, depending on the clone you have.
Maybe some Tempranillo. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and then you had Touriga, so you have, and you might have. You're right, some Tempranillo because you have Iberian grapes. Alicante Boucher is kind of from. I mean, what is it called? What's Alicante? What's the name for Alicante Boucher? Garnacha Tintoria.
Ah, there we go.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm an egghead.
Glad one of us knew.
Yeah, that's the one. Garnacha Tintoria. So that's crazy, and it's just you just harvest all the grapes by hand. Is this completely destemmed?
No, it's not.
Whole cluster?
Whole cluster. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And it's all co-fermented. And I think something that we've brought attention to is that this wine is coming from an early 20th century mentality. Like that's the thing, because the way we're fermenting the wine, the way we're harvesting the wine, like that is just what they did then. So when you're drinking a wine, you're really drinking kind of that lineage of those growers back then when they didn't have access to a lot of that fancy stainless steel stuff that we use today, or any other sort of modern wine-making techniques that we now use. And it was really, they just went for it.
Is this native yeast?
No.
Okay.
It's not native yeast.
Okay.
I know we're not special.
No,
like
you just mentioned the old school techniques.
Well, we like risk again, but too much risk.
Well, I mean, if you're
it's hard enough.
No, I know. As I said, go back to what we talked about at the beginning. You're worried about profitability. Don't be playing around with native yeast.
No, I mean, there's a reason why it's $25. It's we need a few safeguards just to keep us in line. But in every other way though, we still want to make sure that this wine is an expression of its unique place of origin and its unique history. So we're doing the best we can given that.
So tell me about Kelsey Bench though. Is that down like?
Yeah. Okay. Well, Lake County, it's basically a big basin. It's just it's sort of like the Bermuda Triangle of California. Like you go in, you may not come out. No, I'm just kidding.
I thought that was Humboldt.
Well, I mean,
was that the Green Triangle?
Right. Well, there's that and some other things.
I'm sure there's. Well, it's legal.
Right.
It's legal in New York now. Congratulations, New York.
There we go. Hey.
And New Jersey. So I'm sure before it was legal though in California, I'm sure there was a lot of agriculture going on in Lake County.
Let's call it that. Yeah. Agriculture and science. Lots of science. Oh, so many science experiments going wrong. But anyway, Yeah, so Kelsey Bench, it's an AVA that we were particularly drawn to because we were trying to figure out where the best place for generally red grapes were going to be in Lake County, and one of the places we were looking at the time was the Red Hills region,
Okay.
which Beckstoffer is
Mm-hmm.
taking a big chunk of
Yep.
and is really promoting Cabernet from that area. But in his, I mean, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this way, but anyway, but he said that Kelsey Bench was where he would prefer to be in a lot of ways. It's just smaller, there's just
Right.
not as much going on there in terms of spacing for stuff. But it's a phenomenal place to grow red grapes. Generally, it's all volcanic soils.
Okay.
And so Lake County has a very diverse soil topography. I didn't really get into the soils, but that's a huge part of what makes our wines our wines.
We'll get into it.
We're
now.
getting into it now. Yes, better late than never.
I love how nervous you are. You're so cute.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is my first podcast.
Aw. Oh, thank you for being here, man.
And I'm the young guy. You need the old guard on this. I'm just
Nah, man. So talk about the soil because there's a lot of wine people listen to this, like winemakers and whatnot.
Sure.
And,
So it's like I said for Kelsey Bench, it's mostly volcanic, but there is that sort of loamy clay soil. For our Sauvignon Blanc vineyard, it's all clay.
Okay.
It's a specific kind of clay too. It's called Diablo black clay soil. Very fun, exciting.
Black Devil Clay.
Yeah, fun heavy metal band there.
Yeah,
Name.
exactly.
So but the volcanic comes from the fact that there's Mount Konocti there, which is right off the lake, and it's an active volcano. I mean, dormant-ish, active-ish,
it's
whatever you want to call it. I don't think it's going to go Mount St. Helens anytime soon.
It's not gonna do like a what happened to Mount Etna.
in Sicily, right? Yeah. No, those are some crazy.
Gnarly.
Yeah, but I don't think we're worried about that anytime soon. But
By the way, pause.
Yeah.
The aromatics just explode out of the glass. You guys, you know who you are. You need to get some of this. All my friends who love blends from Paso and stuff,
Yeah.
and I mean, like, this is right up your alley, man.
Yeah.
You like shouting up the pop? This is right up your alley. You like Zins? This is up your alley. You like red wine? This is up your alley. And I mean, it's pretty ludicrous. So yeah, we're talking soils, man. But literally, my glass is 2 feet away from me or a foot and a half away from me, and I can smell.
Yeah.
The aromatics.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, they're so pungent. Yeah.
So, what does volcanic soil bring to the mix?
Well, I think there's still a lot of discussion about like what actually the effect of soil is on grapes, and like it's funny because in the case of our Sauvignon Blanc vineyard, we know kind of what it's doing. Generally speaking, we know that because it's so tough. Like that is tough soil. I mean, when it's wet and then it's hot and it bakes it. I mean, you can build houses with that soil, that clay soil. But we know in that instance,
Adobe.
That's
Yes.
a fun word.
It is a fun word.
I like it. But in the case of the Sauvignon Blanc vineyard, yes. So it's so tough that like what it does is it just restricts the vigor of the vine. So it's really that Sauvignon Blanc comes from some obviously I think it means like Savage White or something like that, and it just means that like it's a varietal that just likes to grow and go crazy with vigor, and this really restrains it. So that contributes to that concentration of fruit in the clusters. And then for the volcanic soil, I actually don't really know what that is contributing here, but I'm sure it's something pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, because you hear it all the time. I mean, and listen, I love it. I mean, listen, you grew up around wine, but you're not the encyclopedia of wine. You don't
Definitely
have to
not.
be. You don't have to be though. Unless you want to be a star on.
Yes. I want to be.
I'm not gonna say it.
Oh no.
No.
Oh, Joe.
I was gonna say you'd be a star on a certain app. That shall remain nameless.
Oh, full circle.
Full circle.
Full circle.
God, how did this one happen? But to that point, you do want to be a star. Like you said in the beginning, you guys will hear when we release the Before the Pour about you want to be an actor, right? So one of your passions is theater and circus arts and improv.
Yes.
And that's and so, it's interesting. I think we've had Lyle Railsback and Amanda McCrossan on. Both they actually kind of were into theater, and then they end up in wine. Do you see do you see a connection between theater and wine? I mean,
Sure.
tell me about what you see.
All the time. Yeah. I mean, well, sales. I mean, there's always a theatrical element to
Always
sales.
there, yeah.
And knowing how to, perform in a crowd is always important. I personally like it when I have the lines beforehand and I can just know what I'm going to say and and they tell me where to stand and what to deliver. And like, that's where I shine, when I'm spitballing. It's, I did teach improv, but I was never very good at it, And I was teaching kids, and they're easy. Like they're always improving. Like it's never stopping for them. Like their minds just go crazy. But anyway, yeah, I'm trying to like piece everything together as like I'm learning all about the history and all about like, I mean, like, learning from my parents too. It's like it's all just sort of through osmosis that you're learning a lot of this stuff, and just how, and also like when I came up in the Napa Valley or like was growing up there, the wine industry was this completely different place than what people were talking about. I had no idea of like the sort of, the whole history of Mondavi, and they never taught us that. You had to hear it from your folks and like, and all the crazy stories and all the interactions and all the sort of like mystery and legends and myths and all that kind of thing. That was something that, I just got the Disneyland version. I'm sorry. It just was like, at that point, I mean, it just, from hearing what my mom was describing growing up and seeing what I had, it was just like, well, this is completely different. So, and I've done my best to kind of learn as much as I can, given what I can. But, but I think that's why I was excited about the idea of Lake County and just being with them up there, because we started that together. I mean, as much as like my dad was the one who really saw the potential and possibility of Lake County, like that was something that we all did. We were all there from the ground up. So we've seen the highs and lows of all of the changes that have been going on and just the sort of rigmarole of our business.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned something earlier about, again, when we were before the show, kind of before the pour, about what your favorite meal was, and you talking about a roast chicken.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of wines did your parents? I would assume your parents drank wine when you were growing up.
They did. They did. My dad's not a big drinker, really, to be honest. Like he likes wine, he enjoys a glass of wine, but he'll take a couple sips and he's kind of done. My mom, she's got a great palate, to be honest. Like she really knows good wine. But we're very casual around wine. It's just sort of like it's part of who we are, part of our business. But like we don't go crazy with like.
So you guys, the question was
yeah,
like,
sorry,
no, that's perfect answer. No, there wasn't like a special occasion, like your dad brought home a baller bottle one time of like some crazy French shit, like some crazy like DRC.
I miss those parties.
Or shouting up the pot, and you're like, he's like, son, taste this wine. This is why, you never had that type?
I miss those parties. I think, those were all pre-me.
Pre-me.
I think they were definitely the life of the party for, during the 80s and early 90s, but I was either too small to remember that, and then, they were kind of settling down by the time I became conscious. But yeah, boy, my brother Adam has some fun stories. And then we'd had a little cellar in our house that they'd have some pretty cool bottles. I remember they brought out a 1971 Bechevel.
Okay.
That was I love that wine. That one was pretty terrific. They also brought out like a Newton, I think it was Cabernet, and it was like 13.5% alcohol, and it was like, back in Napa didn't make,
that was high alcohol.
That was high alcohol back then. Yeah, I mean it was pretty cool, like just to see. I like that, and I'm like loving learning that history now, and it's just seeing what people were doing back then, and just how experimental it was, and just the risks people were taking before it became kind of a more codified thing.
Yeah, no, I saw on Instagram earlier today. Another wine family, the Couture family, really great family. Shout out to them. But Sam, the son, had posted in a story a 1979 Chardonnay, and it was 13.9. I'm like, that's high fucking alcohol for 1979. They were like, what are you, crazy? Because back then it was like 12.5, because that's what the French did, 12.5.
Yeah.
So it's so funny, like I said, like you see this 13.0 Newton Cabernet,
right.
Like, what were they thinking?
It's crazy,
So besides that 71 Bechevel, any other baller wines that you've had the opportunity to taste and during your career that you're like, man, I really.
This one, I remember there was one wine I had, and I mean, I don't know if it's gonna be a big name or not, but it's called Osterhout. Have you ever heard of them?
Osterhout.
Yeah.
Where are they from?
They're from Sonoma.
Okay.
I believe. Yeah, and I remember.
I know someone listening to this is going to know. So
okay.
Thanks for
Osterhout. Yeah, and all I know from them was that it was early days when we were just getting going, and we were with a distributor in Colorado, and there was this guy. His name was Mountain Matt, and that's what they called him.
I wonder how many people he killed.
Well,
Just sounds like someone who's like,
I want him on my side in a bar fight. That's all.
I believe you.
He was
Mountain Matt walk
Mountain
in
Matt.
And just shut the room like,
Yeah.
that's enough of that.
And this was, you thought I'm nervous now. I was shivering in my little, polo shirt, when he showed up. And this was my first time ever working with a rep and doing a work with. And we drove all through like Colorado and Glenwood Springs and Aspen, and we spent like 2 days together basically, and staying in Ramada Inns and stuff. And he talked and talked and talked and talked and talked, and just like I was just nodding, listening. And my dad always said, just make sure you do everything you can to get along with the rep. That was the always number one rule. Make the rep your best friend.
Right.
And so, but anyway, he. I don't know. I didn't say a word to him really that whole time, but he was like, "You're great, man. Like, you're really cool." And he's like, "I like hanging out with you, And he's like, "Why don't you come over to my house and I'll make you dinner, and we're gonna have some wines, and
Okay.
And he took me up to his his house, which was again like the reason why he was called Mountain Matt was because he was up there in the mountains,
top of Pikes Peak.
Yes. And anyway, we met his wife and kids, and we sat down, and his wife made a beautiful dinner, and they brought out this wine that he had been showing. I think they represented this wine maybe potentially, but and it was called Osterhout Zin. And yeah, there was something like it was just I don't even remember what we had it with, but it was just like when I say like the Pinot Drinker Zin, like that was the complete. Yes, that's it. Yes, that's the one.
Okay,
yes.
very nice.
And it was just sort of the pinnacle of that. I thought they just did. I mean, a Zin that I'd never personally a profile that I'd never come across ever, and it was so cool to see that wine or that grape being expressed in that way, and that was really fun and interesting for me. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to find that one. Well, my producer found it. She'll send it to
There
me.
she goes.
But I definitely have to try it. I love wines like that, unique wines, off the beaten path, and just that for me that's fun. So what do you love most about what you're doing right now?
Well, what I love most right now, funny you should mention right now, because it's what we have now discovered, and we may be the first winery ever. I don't even know if I should be saying this big because if you have actual wine.
Yeah, but people drop people like Dustin Wilson said he was pregnant on the show. That's what happens on the show.
That happens. Well,
that's what happens.
And this is not going to seem like a big deal, but it is a big deal. And the big deal is that we found out that we can sell our wine through farmers markets.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah, and it is dope.
Yeah, that's dope.
And it's what's cool about that is that we've now partnered with a farmers market organization in the Bay Area where we are their only winery out there, and we have our little stand, and we've bought this van. It's a Citroën 1969 H van. I don't know if anyone here knows what that car is, or van is, I should say. But
I don't know, but I know Citroën it's a French brand, and yeah,
they were all over the place when my dad was growing up. They were like the cheap van that everyone who needed to move anything during that time, I guess, had. And they were all over France, and I think a few of them made it. Almost none made it to America. Right. And they're very unique. They're like corrugated steel, like they're just got these kind of pug-nosed things. And and my dad's in love with this van because it, I think, brings him back to his cement truck days. But instead of cement coming out, it's wine. There you go. Look at that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're very unique.
Yep.
And so
very cool.
He got this van on a whim, and he wants to convert it into a mobile tasting room, and we're going to bring it into these farmers markets, and we're going to set up shop, and that's how we're going to have our tasting room, because nobody's coming up to Lake County, and it's very hard to get up there for most people. So what do? You bring the tasting room to them. That's what you do. You bring Lake County to them. And so, and anyway, we just started that, and I had an opportunity to work that. And
you bring the mountain to the masses.
Bring the mountain to the masses.
Yeah.
Who said that?
It was a mountain to Muhammad Mountain.
Oh.
Somebody said it.
Mystical.
Some old dude years ago who was a philosopher.
Well, kudos to him.
Off quoted, often memed.
Often memed. Oh boy.
But no, that's awesome.
So our plan is to really take full advantage of that, because we are I don't know any other wineries figured this out yet.
No, and what's your farming practices here?
So we're 100% certified sustainable. That can mean.
Oh, that means millions of dollars at the farmers market.
Oh, they love it. I mean,
it does, bro.
It means it's enough.
Yeah.
We're sustainable in that we're sustaining in business. You know, we're a sustainable business. Profitability, another theme I feel that we've been coming back to. But yeah, so but it's been a great outlet because you were talking about Old Steak. Like we've had challenges, sort of selling Old Steak, and
What?
I know it's crazy, but
I'm gonna become an Old Steak prophet, bro.
Please.
Seriously,
we need it.
I mean, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, for people like Field Blend, like for a lot of people, it's what do you do with that? It's just they don't come across it that often. And
but there's Ridge does the field blends.
Mm-hmm. Oh, people do them, yeah, for sure. And it's just
listen.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't want to say that.
Uh-oh.
You could get 2 bottles of this for 1 bottle of the Prisoner, and this is real fucking wine.
Oh, that's wow. I'm gonna take that home with me.
Yeah, I said it.
Dang.
Yeah.
I'm giddy.
Yeah, yeah. Fuck a red blend. This is actually a field blend from historic vineyards, and 2 bottles for the cost of 1, and you would not be disappointed.
Wow. Well, there you have it. I mean, from the man himself. There we go.
Wow.
So.
Wow, I talked a lot of shit on this one.
Well.
But it's the truth. I'm blown away. I'm blown away by the wines again. I haven't had them in about a year. They're amazing. I don't know how they're not more popular. There is something nice to be flying under the radar, but also there needs to be. I think these are the type of wines that people need to be. When people want to expand their palate, they need to be looking for and seeking out. I just think there's a theme with the work your father did when he started Cartlidge and Browne, just bringing incredibly good wine and making it accessible. People talk about wine being accessible nowadays. This is wine being accessible. Yeah. This is really good wine being accessible. Yeah,
well, thanks. I mean, we think so. And all we know is, like, we sold this wine at these farmers markets, and these 2 wines are the best sellers. Like, they fly off, the stand, as it were. So that's been a real great, we feel, exposure for this wine. And it's also great at farmers markets because, like, chefs come by, people, all sorts of people show up to these, and I think especially in COVID times, like, there's an appeal for folks who can access their farmers market and be outdoors and shop outdoors, and all the individual vendors, and you get everything, and, like, and we've got people come up to us and say, well, thanks for saving me a trip to the wine store.
Yeah, no,
and we're making someone unhappy with that comment, but we're there. So and it's just been really great to give our story directly. I just love it when we're as direct as possible. Everyone talks about direct to consumer, right? And they're talking about online mostly, but we're talking about direct face to face where we can meet the people drinking our wine, and that's where I'm happiest. When you're talking about back to what I love most is talking directly to people. Without any third, fourth party. That's what I really love about this.
That's supersonic, supersonic. Well, man, I think that's just a great place to end. Yeah. I got to tell you, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
We could talk longer, but I'm sure I'd go off on a real tangent, and then I don't know what would happen.
Sponsored by Vivino.
Yeah, right. But no, I love the passion, the family story, and the authenticity and the honesty. Like, I'm hearing you, I'm feeling. People don't realize how hard it is to sell wine on the street. Like to go knock on a door, and you have good wine. You're not even trying. You're not slocking around some shit. Yeah. I mean, like, but people like, I'm not tasting. I want to. Right. So it's tough, man. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
So everybody, tell everybody where they can find you and the wines. Give them your IG handles.
Sure. Well, you can always buy online, dancingcrow.com. All our wines are available there. You can buy them. We'll ship them out. And as far as you're talking about the East Coast, well, we're everywhere and nowhere. That's kind of how it is. But
I think you can pick up that Sauvignon Blanc at Whole Foods. Carries that
you can.
one.
That's right. In Northern California, and anywhere that can sell wine, we are in Whole Foods. And any Whole Foods that can't, now in New York, they can't do that. But anywhere else, and if you want to find, just email us. Like, we're here, we're listening. Like, we'll talk to you direct, and you're just like, hey, where can I get your wine? And you tell us where we are. We'll find out. Trust me. So just send us an email, and we'll find it for you.
Yep. And you can also follow at Dancing Crow on Instagram and at Oats and Hayden.
Oh, wow, the personal.
Yeah,
Oh,
man.
okay,
You
wow.
know,
we're
we're gonna hook you up.
I appreciate that.
We're gonna
man.
throw some clips. You know,
Thank
girls
you.
are gonna be like, "Can I try your Sauvignon Blanc? I heard you have a good rosé, and you're kind of tall." Gonna be making love connections.
The tall thing. Okay, we're bringing the tall thing.
Yeah, we're gonna bring the tall thing. Yeah, exactly. Man. But well, again, Stefan, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, MJ.
Everybody, it's your boy MJ. Another episode is in the can. Until the next time, cheers to the Mavericks, the philosophers, the deep thinkers, and of course the wine drinkers. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.